Thanks, guys, for that first carrier update this morning. We've got our Detroit Bureau Chief, Alan Adler, in-house today, talking all about the special ride-along that he just went on. Alan, welcome to FreightWaves Now. Good to have you back again after the short weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Hi, Kaylee. So let's talk about Plus. And Plus, of course, is an autonomous truck company. And they invited us, that is FreightWaves, out to the San Jose area, to Cupertino, which is best known, of course, for Apple Computer, for I think it's still an exclusive that is ride along in their level 4 or high autonomy Class 8 truck. They had a Peterbilt 579 equipped with their software, and we went out for about an hour a couple of weeks ago on the kind of rush hour freeways around San Jose. Hit about 4 different freeways. Spent most of our time in the right lane. And you might say, well, what for? Isn't it more important to find out how this does sort of, at regular speed? But the chief engineer, Amit Kumar, who was in the truck with us, he said, no, he said, this is where the action is. It's out here in the right lane. This is where people are trying to cut you off and where they're basically behaving badly. And so it was very, very interesting. I talked a little bit more about what's in the truck and things like that, but just the opportunity to really get an experience inside one of these trucks. Now, for comparison's sake, a couple of years ago, I was actually, before I joined FreightWaves, I had an opportunity to drive a ride in a level 2 truck. This is sort of semi-autonomous. It's got what's called advanced driver assistance systems in a Freightliner Cascadia. And these assistance systems include things like automatic emergency braking, forward collision alert, lane departure, lane centering, things that all kind of sound like what they are. And so we had a chance to experience some of those things. Those were all done by Detroit, which is the sort of the technology house for Daimler Truck. And what's interesting about the Plus truck is that it's operating, the feel really is a lot like riding in a level 2 truck, because even though Plus is designed all the way up to level 4 full autonomy, or almost can be driven in any circumstance without a human, they haven't opened it up, so to speak, all the way. The idea right now is, let's get the miles, let's let that system run in the background, but let's use the things that people can make good use of while we gather. They want 8 billion, that's a B, miles of experience. And let's do that first, and then we'll take the driver out of the truck. So what we experienced a lot of was some of those level 2 or ADAS type systems. But you could see, honestly, that the truck was learning as it went. If somebody snuck in even one wheel into the lane where we were operating, the truck would slow down and it would wait for the car to go ahead and make its move, or perhaps not make its move. But it's anticipating as much as it can. And so that was kind of interesting to experience that. The Plus truck does not drive autonomously on surface streets at this point. Basically, the system will activate when it goes from a highway on ramp onto the freeway. In California, the test drivers, or the safety drivers, as they're called, have to keep 2 hands on the wheel. Now, they don't have to steer the vehicle because the system will do that for itself. But they do need to keep their hands sort of either on or just above the wheel. So they're paying attention, full time. It's not like they've just turned the truck loose. But a couple of things that really stood out to me was, this is obviously, we were driving in a fully loaded, almost 80,000 pound vehicle, semi. And the manners, really, with the courtesy of the truck itself and letting other people get ahead and things like that. This is all kind of unexpected, because typically you think of truck drivers, no, I'm not going to paint them with a broad brush, but some have an ego, and some are, want to use that size to their advantage, and maybe they don't always behave well. This truck behaved beautifully all the time, which was just really interesting to see. We did get into the left lane a couple times, went up to speed, and that sort of thing.
So, Alan, throughout your ride here, I mean, this has to kind of make things a little bit more real. We're always hearing about how this is on the way. I mean, autonomy is right around the corner. This experience has to kind of drive it home a little bit more, especially from your previous experience when doing these ride-alongs. What advice would you have, or what can you say about truck drivers now really being still utilized when this autonomy comes into play?
Well, Anthony, we're going to have truck drivers for the foreseeable future, whether they are traditional drivers who have more and more safety equipment. I mentioned, advanced driver assistance systems. Some of these technologies are, and really since 2018, have been coming onto trucks, mostly as options, but a lot of fleets are purchasing them because they're seeing the benefit of things like automatic emergency braking and forward collision alert. These things are the types of things that will keep you out of accidents. And if you stay out of accidents, you stay out of big jury verdicts. And goodness knows we write enough. And our colleague Clarissa Hawes writes a lot about big verdicts that come from truck accidents and things like that. So basically, making trucking safer is something that's already underway, and it's something that with the current state of safety equipment, we're already seeing benefits. The thing about autonomy, and it's really important, these safety drivers that we wrote about a few weeks ago, including Ruben Cardenas, who was our driver out in San Jose, they're evangelists really for autonomous driving, because there's a lot of misunderstanding that, all our jobs are going to go away and things like that. That's not the case. And of course, we don't have time this morning to debate whether there's a driver shortage, but what there is definitely a lack of drivers on those long haul routes. Everybody, and who blames them, wants to go home at night. They don't really want to be out for 4 nights or 2 weeks on the road. And so when we get to full level 4 and even beyond autonomy, you're going to see it used in long haul routes. I don't think you'll see that much of it in terms of short haul stuff. When I say long haul, we're talking kind of hub to hub. But I think there will be drivers around. There'll be safety drivers for many, many years to come. I think, even though we're seeing 23, 24 as years when we might start seeing drivers out, it's going to be a long process.
Alan, you mentioned that the truck kind of seemed almost polite in its anticipatory movements. How was the actual ride itself? Was there any kind of jerkiness? Was there any time where you felt like, okay, this could have been a little bit smoother and maybe stopping or changing lanes or speeding up?
From a comfort standpoint, and this is sort of a shout out, I guess, to the Peterbilt folks, but the 579, the 2020 model we were in, not a brand new model, but pretty new, very comfortable, really, in the passenger seat. You don't get a ton of movement. There's noise because you're in a diesel, and a diesel is noisy, and so I wasn't always able to hear Amit or Ruben when they were speaking, but by and large, it was fine from a comfort standpoint, very much so. No jerkiness at all, and especially when the computer is, or the robot, if you will, is stopping the vehicle and things like that, it's almost imperceptible in terms of the changes. You're not getting a herky jerky kind of thing. Of course, we were not in a situation where you would have an emergency stop. We were moving along probably at 35, 40 miles an hour when there wasn't a lot of traffic. And when traffic sped up, adaptive cruise control, which is something that is available in a lot of trucks now. Full range adaptive cruise control will take it all the way down to 0 and then all the way back up based on what's happening ahead of it. But what the Plus system will do is it will make lane changes and things like that as necessary. It also has sort of a 360-degree surround, so that if the driver is paying attention, for example, to something that's happening, right in front of them, if somebody's moving up on the left side, the robot senses that and alerts the driver. Now, how do those alerts work? 2 ways, because it's really important with autonomy that you have redundant systems. You don't want just one, because if one fails, then you don't have any protection. So there's a system from Bendix called Wingman Fusion, which is used on a lot of Peterbilt and Kenworth trucks. And that is sort of the backup system for the Plus system, if you will. It operates, again, in the background, but it will do things that if for some reason the Plus system doesn't catch it or doesn't get there first, then the Bendix system will catch on first and keep the driver fully alert to what's happening around them. It's very hard to describe exactly how that works, but let me tell you, you have in the Plus truck, which they haven't shown, the interior of the truck yet, the cab, if you will, but I can tell you that there's a 7-inch monitor that's right next to, sort of to the right of the steering wheel. And of course, monitors are nothing new, but this one is interesting because what it's doing is it's providing a larger number to show what the target speed should be, not the actual speed, and then a smaller number that shows the exact speed. And part of this is to address some of the fuel economy gains that Plus talks about. They say they can get up to 10% better fuel economy.
Alan, thank you so much. I mean, it sounds like a lot of exciting stuff here. We'll be sure to we'll keep up to date with you on all these latest events happening around autonomy. We're excited about the future.
Okay. Thanks, guys.